Alright. You ready, Ashley?
Yeah.
So like I told everyone else, I'm just you're gonna look at me during the interview,
Okay.
and then you're just gonna either put the question in the answer, or just make sure you speak it complete full sentence, because they're not gonna hear you at all.
Okay.
All right. So first, give me your name, your age, and spell your name.
My name is Ashley Bryce, ASHLEYBRYCE, and I'm 23 years old.
Okay, cool. And how are you related to Easy?
Easy Rock is my father.
All right. So can you tell us what it was like growing up with Easy Rock as your daddy?
Um, it was cool, but I didn't really. Sorry. Having. It's. Can I say having my father? Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So having Easy Rock as my father, it was cool growing up, but I really didn't know that much about it. I knew he traveled the world. I knew he had to do different shows, and I knew that he performed at parties. But to me, he was just my father. But it was weird going to school, and my friends' parents knew, and my friends knew more so, and they'd call me and be like, "We just saw your dad on TV," and I'm like, "Well, he's right behind me." Like, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me because he's just my dad. So.
So talk about him being your dad, just their everyday experiences in the house.
He was just always funny, just always telling jokes, playful, just funny. I mean, he was always telling a joke. Nothing was ever to be taken serious unless it was about my homework. But other than that, it was always playtime for me, and we'd play Sega Genesis together or the Dreamcast together. But it was just playful.
How big was music in your household?
Oh, it was a pretty big deal because music was a pretty big deal because it was always playing. Um, I remember the setup of his room being like he'd have his bed in one corner and then on the other side was the DJ equipment and these like two large speakers. And I remember one time my grandmother actually took me out of the room because he was practicing for his set and the music was too loud. And she was like, "She doesn't need to be in there. It's too loud." And so she'd close the door, but the music was so loud that you could hear the bass coming from the door and the vibrations, and it was just always playing and it was always loud. So even outside when he'd be driving, the music was always loud. And when my mom got in the car, she'd be like, "Turn that down, it's gonna hurt her eardrums." And it's funny that that's now transitioned over to me because now my music is always loud and she's complaining about it.
So you talk about his love for music?
100% that he loves music no matter what time of day it was. I mean, he'd always be making, well, at that time it was tapes, and then as time rolled over, it became the CDs for me so I can play in my CD player, and it was his passion. I mean, he'd take me downtown after school sometimes to this music store. I can't remember the name of it though. And I just remember being in that record store for like hours because he's always looking through the crates. And then I remember the owner, he'd always set aside like a few of the new records that came out. And he's like, "Oh, I thought you'd be interested in this." And he'd leave the store with like two heavy crates of music just to perform that set, like maybe that night or even a week later. So.
So did you go with him to any of his sets?
Yeah, I've been to a few. I remember. Oh, sorry. I've been to a few of the sets that he's done. I've been to one that was in the Meadowlands, And that was an experience. I got a cough. Sorry. I need water. My Thank you.
Small fees and tips.
Yeah.
Small fees.
So, so I've been to a few sets. The one that I remember the most was the one in the Meadowlands, and it was a fair, and I think that's the main reason he took me, because afterwards I could go on the rides and play games. So he was on stage with Rob, and then he brought me and Rob's son up to the stage, and we were just standing in the background, and I'm nervous as I don't know what, and all I see is like all of these people just loving the music and just dancing along, all variations of ages and race. They're just having fun. And I remember at one point Rob Bass brought me and little Rob up to the front of the stage, and I was like so nervous, and people were like, oh my gosh, that must be their kids, they're adorable, and they're still like rocking with the song, clapping and everything. So that was one of the sets I remember. The other one, I was there for the mic check, and he came to pick me up from school one day, and my father took me downtown to some club, I don't remember what it was, and we were there for a good like 2-3 hours. And I remember him just saying, mic check 2 1 2, over and over again. And I'm just sitting on the stage, swinging my legs, like, can we go now? You promised me McDonald's hours ago. And he's like, just one more time. And then now they're fixing the lights. And I'm like, I want food now. I'm ready to go. So, but then he took me home, and then he went back to do the actual show. And I remember after he came home, I asked him about it. And I was like, did a lot of people show up, and how was it? And he was just like, it was just a really good time, and the show went well. So
How old were you at that time?
I was probably 8 at that time. Yeah.
How did it make you feel at the Meadowlands? You look at her. How did it make you feel at the Meadowlands when you saw how the people reacted to your part?
It was shocking, but then again, it never really hit me too much. I mean, to see people react to that song, it was nice, but again, I was just a kid, and now I'm realizing how big of a deal it was, and I never knew it had that much effect on people until now.
So now that you're old enough to, I guess, realize it, how do you feel about it now? About now that you know the importance of the song, how do you feel about it?
Now that I'm older and I've kind of looked back at the song, knowing that it's had such an impact on so many people, it's a really good feeling, especially when my father passed. That was rough. But then one of my friends told me to go on Instagram and just put in his name as one of the tags, and I was like, why? And so I just did it anyway, and then I see all these people like paying tribute to him and playing the song, and there's like people dancing with their kids, with their dogs, and it just made me feel good to know that he made others feel good and feel like partying, and it wasn't it just was really upbeat, and seeing that just made me feel better about a lot of things.
Why did that make you feel better?
Because it made me feel better, because knowing that he is my father and that's his title, to me, again, he's my dad. So, which is not, and he's not like an ordinary dad. So, in the sense that I can go on YouTube now and I can pull his name up and I can see past interviews, or I can pull his name up and I can see videos of him, and it's like he's alive within the music. And knowing that I can go on YouTube any time of day and just pull him up. It makes me feel better, so I can hear his voice.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how it makes you feel to see him in the video for It Takes Two?
I'm watching the It Takes Two video. To be honest, I've probably only watched it about 10 times. And I probably haven't even watched the whole thing. I've probably watched the whole thing twice. And it's funny to me, especially because my favorite part is when Rob Bass says 1, 2, 3, get loose now, and my father does that silly dance. And it just shows he never broke his character. That's exactly who my father is. And it just makes me happy to know that he's never changed, no matter what time or year it was. He was always just the same way. So it just makes me happy, in a sense.
It makes you happy to see him enjoying himself, dancing,
Yeah, it makes me happy to see that he did something that made himself happy, and seeing him on these interviews, and I know my dad liked attention because of the silly things he did, and so knowing that he's getting attention for a song that he worked on with Rob Bass, which is his friend since forever, it makes me feel proud of my father, in a sense.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing really good.
So, what do you know about the friendship between your dad and Rob?
I don't know a lot about the friendship between my father and Rob, but I do know that they were very close, and I do know that they were always hanging out together, and sometimes when I came home from school, Rob was there. Even when I'm doing homework, Rob was there. So it's and I know they would meet up to do the shows together and leave together, and I know Rob was just always there for my father, no matter what. And even they would be on the phone at night just talking about whatever, and most likely it was about the Yankee game, most likely. But he was just always there. And I remember going to Rob's house plenty of times, and they'll just be in the living room talking, and I'll be playing with his son Rob.
So, how has how did your dad's love for music affect your love of music?
My dad's love of music affected my love of music in the greatest way possible. I mean, again, being young, I didn't realize how much it impacted me, but I realized I didn't remember this before, but I used to have a cassette tape player, and I don't remember too much of that, but my mom's told me, yeah, you used to carry all these tapes around with you in the car when we used to go on road trips. Even if it was just to the store, you'd have to take that cassette player with you. And then when it transitioned to the CD player, that I remember more of, and I remember having a little metal case full of different CDs just in case I didn't want to listen to the same song over and over again. And then I remember begging my dad when the iPods first came out. I begged him so much, I need one. I can carry all my music, and convincing him. And I got it as a Christmas gift, and I remember just being so excited about it. And I was like, now I don't have to carry anything but this and my headphones. And I always had it on me, and that iPod lasted probably 4 years because it was the first generation. And then over the years, I got a new one, and again, I remember it was 16 gigs, and I filled it up in the first day. And I didn't realize how much music I listened to. And I mean, even today, if I don't have my iPod with me, I know I have most of the memory on my phone is just different kinds of music.
Could you talk about when they honored your father, a week or so after the homegoing, when you and your mom went up there and they gave you the award?
When they honored my father, it was shocking. In it,
What was it? Hip hop?
it was a hip hop. What was that? Okay, yeah.
Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Hip Hop Hall of Fame.
Okay, at the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, the ceremony, it was different because I've never went to anything like that before. I know my father has plenty of times to different award shows, and to know that he was being honored for something that he loves doing, it was just an amazing feeling. Even although I was the one who accepted it, it just was. It was great. I was grateful for him being honored like that because I know he worked so hard and years to get to such a high honor. And I mean, my father's traveled the world playing different music and, well, his music as well. And I remember.
And so, oh, he's not in today.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh? Yes, please.
Water.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we don't do hair and makeup on this side. I'm sorry, we don't. Yeah, that's that out.
That's this side. This side. This side.
Yeah, that's for your side.
Got you. You're welcome. Pick up the slack, y'all. So we're gonna take that back up from the top. What was it like accepting, for you and your mom to accept your dad's award at the Hip Hop Hall?
Accepting the award at the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, it was an overwhelming experience, but it was a good one. I didn't realize at first how big my father was, but I did realize how hard that he's worked throughout the years to get to that spot. And knowing that he's actually being recognized by the Hall of Fame, it just, it makes me feel happy and again proud of my father because he's traveled all over the world, playing and DJing all over, and I know that's not easy, and it's time consuming. And yeah, there was times I didn't get to spend with my father because he had to do what he needed to be done, and at the end of the day, I know he had fun doing what he wanted, and to get awarded for something that you're proud of doing and that you've worked so hard for, it's accomplishing, and I know he feels accomplished.
Well, walk me through what you were feeling as you were on the stage.
When we got on the stage to accept the award, I was nervous because it was just all these people staring at the stage, but receiving it, it was generally a warming feeling, knowing that I get to accept the award on behalf of my father. Because then in that moment, I realized how much work that he put into doing what he loved the most.
So I guess to take it back to It Takes Two, I imagine you've been somewhere where it's played, party or.
I thought about that night.
About that night.
When you saw Rob Bass come up and perform this song and the crowd reaction. Talk about that, the crowd reaction when Rob Bass performed at the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Your fellas.
When Rob Bass performed at the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, the song, it was nice to see people's reactions. That still in 2014, people are still dancing and people somehow still attracted to the song, and everyone had smiles on their face and dancing, and it just brought them to the dance floor, and it just made me feel that, wow, my dad accomplished this, and I know That's what he would have wanted.
What were they doing in the crowd?
What was I doing in the crowd?
What were you and everyone else around?
Oh, I was not dancing. I was just sitting at the table, just kind of just taking everything in. And even when I had to go backstage in order to accept the award, again, just looking out and just seeing how many people just ran to the dance floor when Rob started playing the song. It was just overall good feeling.
Could you tell me, because we may not have that footage on the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, could you tell me, seeing Rob Bass perform the song today and then the crowd reaction?
Seeing Rob Bass perform that song still, it's, how you say, it's just a good overall feeling because, I mean, after years, and I mean, the song is older than I am, and it's still getting so much play, and people are still attracted to it. I mean, people, my friends, they love the song, and I'm like, really? You do? I'm like, I like it. But, and knowing that my dad had a part in making the song with Rob, and the fact that Rob is continuing, like, the legacy of the song, it just makes me feel like it's going to go on for a really long time, and other people are going to know it no matter what. And hearing it, it just makes me happy.
So, how do you want people to remember your dad?
I want people to remember my father as this funny, crazy guy, because overall that's who he was, and he was just the nicest person.
She's in it.
Yeah, yes. I left my phone in the car and ended up doing an interview, and there was a great sound bite from BJ Easy Rock's daughter, and you just called and messed it up.
No question.
Yeah, I'm about to, they're laughing at you. So, are you on your way in? Alright, bye.
You're going to get it back. You're going to get it back. You're going to get that moment is here. So how would you want your dad, how people to remember your dad?
I want people to remember my father as just this crazy, funny, prankster, jokester kind of guy that was just, in general, always happy with whatever, like, life brought. My dad was, like, the life of the party. And that's the kind of guy he was. And also, as this big sports-loving Yankees fan, also, you have to remember that, because every single hat fitted that he's worn is always an NY hat. I don't ever remember it ever being another team, and that was his passion. So.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us about your father, about this song, him having his big hit song that influenced so many people? Anything that you want to share that we may get at you?
I'm trying to think.
How do you feel when Snoop Dogg did your father's song?
When Snoop Dogg did the song, it was like, what? I was confused. I remember first listening to it, and I was just like, did he really just use it? Really? But he made it his own, of course. But it was just like, I know the song's popular, but I didn't know it was that popular. And for someone like Snoop Dogg and to take it and make it into like his own, it was just shocking in a good way. And again, him doing that makes the song continue to live.
That's great. You know, hear Jay-Z say your father's name, Easy Rock?
When Jay-Z said it, I nearly fainted because I am a big Jay-Z fan, and to see that my father was recognized by Jay-Z, I was like, oh my gosh. And you know, I would never admit that to my father, that he was just this popular guy, because he's just my dad. But to know that someone like of that standard is in Snoop Dogg himself as well, to do something like that, it's like, Dad, you're popular. You're the cool kid.
Have you reaped any benefits from being his daughter?
I have reaped a lot of benefits from being his kid. And not just in the sense of the song as well. My dad was just a loving, happy father. I mean, he always put schoolwork first. That always had to be done, of course. But he was just always, when I would say, like, walking down the street, people would be like, do you know who your father is? And I'm like, yeah, he's my dad. And they're like, no, he's DJ Easy Rock. I used to go to parties with him and things like that. And they'd always, like, tell me stories. And I love hearing those stories even now and knowing what he has done. As far as the benefits has come, Christmas was nice. I mean, and just my dad just being this nice person, and as long as I got A's in school, I knew I would get a surprise. But that kind of was the more so the benefit than anything. And I remember somehow my father got my report card early from elementary school. Don't know how. And he spoke with my mother about it, saying, oh, she got all A's, you know, we should do something for her. And my mom was like, yeah, we'll talk about it. So then that same day, he picks me up from school early. And I'm like, what's going on? I don't care. I'm happy. I'm getting out of school. But is there a reason? He's like, we're just going somewhere. And I'm like, okay. So I'm in the back of the car, and then I realize we're going to Six Flags, and I nearly, like, screamed my head off. I was just so excited. I was like, really? We're going here? He's like, yeah, you did well with your grades, and, you know, if you deserve a trip. I was like, yeah. And I remember that was also the last day of school, too, so it was nice.
Can you tell us your favorite line of the song, your favorite lyric?
My favorite lyric from the song is the 1, 2, 3, get loose now, because I always picture him doing that dance. And I remember there would be certain times when I'm in his room and he's practicing. Somebody's fired. And then I had 2 Christmases.
Make a list.
Alright, can you tell us your favorite line in the song?
My favorite line in the song is the 1, 2, 3, get loose now, because I know that part in the video for sure is my dad being silly and doing that 4 seconds of dancing and rubbing his forehead, taking the hat off, and it just makes me laugh. I don't know, I probably know the first verse of the song, and that's about it. But I know as soon as I get to that part, I can just think of him doing that dance, and it just makes me laugh.
Do you have your own dance?
No. I have never danced to the It Takes Two song. I just kind of sit back in the crowd and just see what everyone else is doing, and no one else knows who I am. And it just makes me laugh. And I remember one time at my prom in high school, they played this song, and I was like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? And my friend goes ballistic, like, oh my God, they're playing this song. I love this song. And she was my friend since the beginning of high school. I never told her who my father was, and she never met him. And so then I was like, I kind of whispered it to myself, but I said, are you really playing this song? Yeah, that's my dad's song. And she looks at me and she's like, that's your dad? And I'm like, yeah. And she's just so excited. She's like, you never told me this, and how come you never told me? I love that song. That's my favorite song. She shows me her iPod. It's on there. And I'm like, but I've never danced to it. I've always just kind of just watched the crowd and see their reaction. I think that's nice though.
You gotta come in. Oh, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't let him in there. And I have one more question. Is there, wait, is there a reason that did you just not only tell that friend, or did you not tell any of your friends who your dad was?
I never told anyone who my dad was, and mainly the only reason they kind of found out who he was is when he came to parent-teacher conference and they saw him. And I remember one time in high school, I'm there with him and my mother, and we're walking down the hallway, and this girl that I knew in my other class, she looks at me, looks at him, and just her eyes get so wide, and she just looks at me and she's like, "You never told me." And I'm like, it just doesn't come up in conversation, and I'm just never like, yeah, oh, and Easy Rock, that's my dad. And it just never came out that way. So people kind of found out either if they came over to my house and they'll see the records, the plaques on the wall, they'll find out that way, or when he came to always pick me up from school, no matter what. I was getting picked up from him from school, I think, since forever. I think it stopped when I was a sophomore in high school. But that's the only way they found out. And he'd be standing outside, and I'd be like, okay, gotta go. And they're like, wait a minute, is that? And I'm like, yeah, we'll talk about this later. I gotta go. And it's just weird telling people that he is, because I know in everyone else's eyes he's this famous star and he's this legend, and again, he's just my dad. So
Can you tell us, have you been anywhere and a song came on and then how your reaction, or maybe can you get that?
Yeah, she's talking about the prom.
Oh, your prom? Oh, great! I wasn't here to hear that. I'd imagine it was great.
But so did you not tell people who your dad was on purpose, or was it just?
I never told people who my dad was because it was never on purpose. It just, I never thought to just blab it out and be like, oh, my dad is this. I want to say, I remember one time it came up in like junior high school, you had to write about your parents' occupation, and I didn't want to write about my mom's occupation because it was boring. And I was like, I might as well do his. And so I wrote a paper about him, and I remember we had to read it out loud in class, and I was like, this is not what I planned for. So I finally read the paper out, and I didn't say his name in the paper whatsoever. And the teacher kind of that was like, that's weird. And then she was like, well, so what is his DJ name? And I'm like, well, it's DJ Z-Rock. And her jaw just like hits the floor, like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you're his daughter. And I'm like, yeah. It's like people make such a big deal out of it, and I get it now. But again, I'm just his child, and he's my dad. So I never took it as this, oh, he's this almighty legend, and he made this amazing song, and I never took it that way. I mean, I've heard the song plenty of times, and even now that he's passed, I've heard the song and people's cars blasting it, driving past me, and I'm like, are you serious? And I feel like that's his way of saying I'm still around, kinda. And then I also know, again, I don't know how, but YouTube is weird. I wasn't even logged into my account, and it was like suggested watching for hip hop. It Takes Two, and I was like, are you serious? But it's just, you know, it just never came up in a conversation at all, and I kind of was always the shy kid, and I never really wanted that much attention, per se. I didn't want people to even treat me differently because I was his daughter, and I didn't want no kind of problems or anything like that. And I just wanted to be who I really was, and I didn't want fake people around me or trying to abuse that in any way. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't say anything as well.
How did your mom react to from your knowledge, to the song and the success and the notoriety and all?
My mom reacted. She was excited for him for the song. I know she was kind of like me. She never really told. Her friends knew of him, of course, but like her coworkers, she never told people like that. And it never really came up unless he picked up from work, and they'll be like, "Is that? Wait a minute, is that DJ Z Rock?" That's how it would really come up. But she was always proud of him for working so hard to get that success that he wanted and strived for, because it isn't easy. And I know she was just proud of him. So.
Anything else?
Good. No.
Have you heard it recently at a party? I think I
Um,
mentioned prom, which is I think really good.
I actually heard it. I'm trying to think. I know I've heard it like a week ago, to be honest with you. It was. Oh, I did. In my building where I live, they have like a party room right across, and I remember coming home on a Friday and they were blasting that song. It wasn't It Takes Two at first. It was some other song, and you can see in the window like people were just chatting and talking, and then while I'm walking by, all of a sudden the It Takes Two song comes on, and the people that were standing outside of the party legit just ran it. And was like, "Oh my God, that's my song, and I love this song." And you hear the whole party just light up, and with knowing the lyrics, and they're just having a good time, and it just makes me laugh because I'm like, "That's my love."
What dance do you do to the song now?
I don't dance to that song at all. I I kind of like sit back and listen to it. I might like do a head bob or whatever, it's not a thing, but I won't dance to the song. Not yet. I mean, I like just seeing people's reactions to it more than anything, and them doing their little two-step or whatever kind of dance they want to do to it. It makes them feel good. So. And it makes me feel good knowing that they're having a good time. So I like doing that more so. And I remember one time for my mother's birthday, we did karaoke, and his song was on the playlist. And my mom was like, "Let's do it, let's see how many of the lyrics we know." And he was like, "Well, I'm just gonna sit here and listen to it." And I know we butchered it. Rob raps so fast, I never realized it in that song. And but we did our best, and I know he was just laughing about it, and he was like, "Y'all are just terrible." But I mean, we tried. That's it.
Let's get 30 seconds of room tone. So everybody just be quiet for 30 seconds. We're going to get the tone of the room. And starting now. Thank you.
All right,